the phrasing that I want you to learn, and I'm about to save you about $200,000 in med school if you can learn this one phrase, okay? And here's the phrase. My name is Dr. Duc Vuong. I'm a world-famous weight loss surgeon, author of 12 books with 3 more on the way. I'm also a HGH New You Life distributor. I don't actually work for the company, but I am a rabid fan. I love my HGH gel. And what I'd like to do today in this video is tell you how to properly dose your gel based on what doctors do in the medical setting, okay? Now, to be clear, I recently retired from surgery. I am a weight loss surgeon and pretty prominent. I was on the TLC hit TV show called 900-Pound Man Race Against Time. I've also done broadcasts on ABC and NBC and stuff like that. So that's some background about me. This is also my 5th, not first, not second. You know, I was so bad at MLM. I failed at my first one, my second one, and I thought I'll try it again. So I started a second one. I failed at that. And I was like, you know, this network thing, marketing thing isn't really for me. So I went ahead and tried a 3rd one and then a 4th one. And now this is my 5th one. And so this 5th one hopefully will be the charm, and mostly because it's a great product and we're getting in really early. But as you know, there are a lot of questions about dosing. So I want to talk about dosing. So when you get your bottle of HGH, it comes in a pump format, and there's a lot of confusion about, do I use a full pump, Dr. Vuong? Do I use 1 pump, Dr. Vuong? Do I use it once a day, twice a day? And as a company and a community, the HGH gel community, we've kind of gotten into saying we're going to use a blueberry-sized dollop on your wrist or a pea-sized dollop. If a blueberry size is too much, then you're going to drop down to a pea-sized drop, which is hardly scientific, okay? But it works for the vast majority of people. Now, from what I understand, the company, New You Life, is working on a more accurate delivery pump mechanism. But for now, we're stuck with what we have. So what I want to do today is tell you what your doctors are doing whenever you see them for a visit and they need to start you on a medicine, okay? And the example we're going to use today is hypertension, high blood pressure. Now, I'm not making any medical claims. I'm not talking about any medical diseases in regards of what the gel can do, but I'm giving you what a doctor perspective would be. So in this example, we're going to talk about hypertension. Make sense? Okay. So the phrasing that I want you to learn, and I'm about to save you about $200,000 in med school if you can learn this one phrase, okay? And here's the phrase: minimum effective dosing. One more time. Minimum effective dosing. That is what you're after, okay? And that is what we are taught at med school and residency when we're starting people on new drugs. Minimum effective dosing. What is the smallest amount of drug or product that we can get them, that we can give a patient to have an effect, minimum effective dosing, without the side effects, okay? So what is the least amount of drug we can give to a patient to have the desired result without the unwanted side effects? And that's the answer to how much you should be dosing your gel. It's the minimum effective dosing. So I will give you an example. If you go see your doctor, first thing you're going to do is pay a copay, right? But you go see your doctor, and doctor says, you know what, Mary, your blood pressure is a little bit high. So what does he do? He says, let's start you on this blood pressure pill. Come back in a month and see what you're doing. And usually they'll start you on a pretty low dose. Let's call it 10 milligrams of any sort of medicine. It doesn't really matter. Blood pressure medicine. So you come back next month and you bring the recordings, and he looks over your chart and he says, all right, Mary, so we started you on the lowest dose, but it turns out your blood pressure is still high. So what does the doctor do at that point? You got it. He says, let's increase the dose. I don't know about you, but that sounds a lot like instead of 1 pump, try 2 pumps. 1 blueberry, try 2 blueberries. That sounds a lot like that to me. So he's going to increase your dose. Come back next month. You come back next month, and he says, your blood pressure is still too high. Guess what he does? He'll increase your dose again. Or sometimes he might try a second medicine or whatever. Okay? So you're trying to achieve the minimum effective dose. All right. Now let's say, for example, he starts you on a medicine, you come back, and instead of having your blood pressure normalize, you end up fainting. Doctor says, Mary, how are you doing with the new blood pressure medicine? And she goes, I don't know, but I'm going to tell you, every time I stand up, I get really lightheaded and dizzy. And the other day in church, because it always happens in church, right? The other day in church, I fainted. So what does that tell you? That tells you that her blood pressure is dropping too low when she stands up. That's called orthostatic hypotension. So she stands up, all the blood rushes out her head, and she faints or gets lightheaded and dizzy. In which case, the doctor says what? Hey, let's back down on your dose. So maybe instead of 20 milligrams, let's back it off, or break the pill in half, for example. Okay? So you don't want the side effects. You want the positive benefits without the side effects. Okay? Now, this matters because you can't tell little Mary, who's 5'2" grandmother, to take the same dose as a 6'2", 250-pound muscle bodybuilder guy in his 30s. Make sense? It'd be silly, right? In fact, you might even start the younger dude on a stronger dose, but you never know. That's the variability of medicine. We just never know. That's why we always call it a practice. Did you ever notice that? Your doctor always has a medical practice. It's because we're always practicing on patients. No other thing is called a practice. Same thing with lawyers. It's a legal practice because they're always practicing the law on you. But so it's a give and take, but doesn't that sound a lot like what's happening when you're starting a customer or a new distributor on the gel? So what I do is I start patients on a loading dose. Distributors. I'm no longer a doctor. I'm not practicing. So any new customers or any new distributors who are probably in their mid-30s or mid-40s, because that's our target audience, most likely their hormone levels are lower because their body has naturally stopped producing HGH, but also because as we get older, we get busy with work and our sleep schedule gets messed up, which, believe it or not, affects your HGH levels. So your HGH levels drop because your sleep patterns are off, and because your diet, because people are not eating right. Did you know that your HGH levels are also affected by your diet? Now, I can do a different video later talking about what you can eat to naturally boost your HGH levels, and also how you need to sleep to affect your HGH levels. But that's what happens to most of us as we start adulting, we start growing up, and we notice that our stress levels are high. So this is all things that affect our HGH levels. So when you have a distributor that's just getting started in the HGH, you need to do what's called a loading dose. So you can read what the product insert tells you. And so the company, according to the company, they want you to use a pump twice a day, 5 days on, 2 days off. What I tell my distributors is use 2 blueberry-sized, back to the blueberries again, 2 blueberry-sized drops on your wrist twice a day. You rub it wrist to wrist like that. and do not take a break. So go all the way 7 days straight. Don't take the 2 days off, because your body is naturally low in HGH and we're doing a loading dose. But what's important is then around the 5 day to 6 day mark, I ask them, how are you feeling? At that point, most of them will say, you know what, I'm starting to sleep really heavy, or I'm having colorful dreams, in which case I say, it's working. That's awesome. You're starting to feel the effects, right? You get the energy level up. So keep going. Don't take any days off. Now, what happens if you happen to have, and I was just having this conversation with somebody earlier today, and, he happens to be 6'2", 250 pounds, bodybuilder. He says, Doc, I'm not really, I've noticed a little bit better sleep, but nothing like really crazy. So I said, increase your dose. You can add a third dose around noon. So let's say you wake up at 8, you put on the gel, and then do another 1 blueberry-sized drop around noon, and then again at 6 p.m. He said, okay, I'll try that. So I checked with him. It's been about a week since he's done that. And he says, I've really started to notice a little difference. Okay, so that's good. Now, what happens if you're doing this loading dose and your customer says, I'm having terrible nightmares? So one of the most common side effects that you are going to feel or hear about are nightmares. And I myself had these nightmares. I went from vivid dreams to crazy, memorable teenage type of wink, wink dreams, if you remember those sort of dreams you were having at 15, 16 years old, to then just flat out nightmares. It was frightening. And I had them for 2 days in a row, and then I realized, well, I need to back down on your dose. So if you're having nightmares, there are 2 causes I've found. Number 1, the dose is too strong, so you can either go from blueberry size to pea size drops, or you're taking them too close to your bedtime. So there are people, when they say take it at night, when we say take it at night, people think you're supposed to take it right before bed, 15 minutes before bed. That's probably too close. You're getting too high of a surge of your of the benefits when you're trying to go into REM sleep, and it's causing nightmares. So a typical person, I would say, if you get up at 8, 9, you want to do your first dosing around 8 or 9, and then you want to do your evening dose. It's not a nighttime dose, it's an evening dose around 6 p.m., assuming you're going to go to bed around 10 or 11 p.m. at night. Okay? If I have a particularly hard day or I need to get a lot of work done, I'll add a 1p drop at 1 in the afternoon. So minimum effective dosing. That is the proper answer to how much HGH gel should you use. All right? I hope this video has been helpful, and I hope you will use it to help your distributors and customers get a better response to the product, which then will make them want to use it more and start to build their business. And that's what we all want. Yes, we all want people to have good results and start making some money and keep on the product. Cool? Thank you guys for watching. Hope to see you next time.